Now what are we working on there?
Sirloin tip, and remember the difference between the sirloin tip and the top sirloin. Key. Leg muscle. Tougher. Okay? Tip and top. And remember the shape of them is somewhat different. These are nice tender steaks, although they're not the most tender of the middle cuts. This is more like a leg cut. It's an oven roast. It's not going to be as tender as this particular muscle. Here we're concerned about removing the eye properly. The eye is this side muscle. It is a little longer, wraps around. This looks fairly similar on this side. Just remember this is the eye, although this looks more like an eye. Stay above the seam. Take off a piece as nice and square as possible. That'll give you a nice smooth surface for your roast side after. Leave it kind of in the same position. Look for the center of this. Come straight through.
Two roasts.
Two roasts. Okay?
And your steaks?
Your steaks, have a look at the way the grain is running on these. You can sort of see, we'll pull off a little bit of this goop.
It's going to look like we have two cameras, John.
You can see the grain running this way,
We'll cut the opposite.
so cut across the grain. Yeah, I take off a little bit of the silver skin, but not all of it. I'm not too concerned about that. Again, it's not going to have anything to do with my presentation. If I was making this into a roast, though, I'd probably remove it all.
It's the back side that you'd have to worry about that.
Well, I've got nothing on there.
No?
That's a beautiful piece right there, right? So at this stage here, I'll show you what I mean by presentation. You cut these nice and thin. That's your presentation. Do you see that silver skin anymore?
No.
And that melts off of the product.
Are these breakfast steaks, Abe?
These are Aya sirloin tip breakfast steaks. Very, very good, Stephen.
Nice narration.
You may even become my new favorite student.
I thought I
What was
already,
that?
I thought I already was.
And the key here is, it's still a fairly tough muscle. The idea here is to cut these thin. This is an alternative for people that are maybe having problems with sodium and fat. So it's an alternative to bacon. Season it up nicely.
I suffer for bacon.
Yeah, well, at your age, yes.
Under some stress.
Just can't get it. Just can't get
If it's a smaller eye muscle, put it across the tray this way. It looks nicer actually, but I've got a fairly long one. This is a fairly big sirloin tip, so I don't have any choice.
Some are longer than others.
It just depends on how you take it out actually.
Make sure you lay it out
I
as you
got
cut
it.
it. It look nicer.
Oh, yeah.
Some stores will lay it flat. I've always had a tendency, I like
Bother with telling stories about
them shingled, this particular product.
Now, were they turned brown because of oxidization?
A little bit, yeah. That's a concern, and that's why you'll have different specs on that with different companies. So find out what your
My spec is at our
your
store.
spec is at your store.
Lots of nice things.
Sorry, dude.
odds and sods, stir fry or delicated steaks. Obviously these pieces are too small for delicated, so stir fry. Now flip it over, take a look for the seams where the heavier deposits of veins are and excess fat, gristle lines. And clean those up.
So your tip comes from your leg and your butt comes from your loin.
Yeah. The butt end of the loin, the hip end of the loin.
But not
So-
your butt. That's why I like rules with big sirloins. I like my females with big
You just
tips.
got that?
I said tips. TIPS, you know? Soccer player with big legs.
This is where the sirloin tip is attached to the kneecap actually, and there's a lot of gristles and tendons down in this area where bone and muscle are attached. So make sure you're careful to remove some of that.
Yeah, I have to get out of the kitchen for 5 minutes.
So again, this isn't my presentation side, but I did clean it up some. Don't want the person flipping it over and flipping out. And a reminder, when you are tying your knots, get your hand close to the knot. You get more pressure on the string and make a nicer cinch.
Excuse me.
Did you brush your teeth? Brush your teeth this morning?
You must smell my last name.
Your brush was shit.
That was fast. You brush it with shite.
Well, that one didn't work out.
No. It's a disaster.
It's a velocity game.
It's a disaster.
Nothing that can't be fixed.
Of course.
Coffee?
Another pearl of
Yes,
wisdom.
I'm not.
I come up with those once every 5 years.
Looks like you can make yourself really good.
I'll be for another 5.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I can cook like